Coming up on this Thursday edition of Daybreak, voting 10-7 in favor. A US Senate committee approves the use of military force in Syria. The full Senate will vote on the punitive action next week. The National Assembly overwhelmingly approves the arrest of ultra-leftist lawmaker Lee Seok-ki for allegedly plotting to overthrow the government. He is now in custody and the court will decide on the arrest on Thursday morning. Plus, President Park Geun-hye arrives in Saint Petersburg, where she'll make her multilateral diplomacy debut at the G20 Summit. The president will also hold 4 one-on-ones with leaders from Italy, Germany, Kazakhstan and Russia. Daybreak begins now.
You're watching Daybreak on Thursday, September 5th, and I'm Choi Yusun here in Seoul. We start this morning with a development out of Capitol Hill. A key U.S. Senate committee has passed authorization for the use of military force in Syria, taking Washington one step close to launching an attack on the Bashar al-Assad regime for its alleged chemical weapons attack. Our Connie Lee has more.
Gathered at Capitol Hill on Wednesday, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee has voted 10-7, authorizing military action in Syria. The authorization now must gain approval in the full Senate and the House of Representatives before taking effect. The resolution gives President Barack Obama the authority to order a limited military action against the Syrian regime, as long as it does not exceed 90 days. The resolution also states that ground troops cannot be used and that all military force should be aimed at preventing Syria from carrying out future chemical weapons attacks. In Sweden, ahead of the G20 Summit in Russia on Wednesday, President Obama challenged the international community to act.
My credibility is not on the line. The international community's credibility is on the line. And America and Congress's credibility is on the line because we give lip service to the notion that these international norms are important.
Meanwhile, in Germany, an intelligence official has revealed an intercepted phone call proves that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad personally ordered last month's gas attack. Russia, however, is still not convinced. Russian officials continue to urge the U.S. to come up with more evidence to show that Syria did indeed use chemical weapons against the opposition. In the meantime, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is demanding the Syrian crisis be resolved within the framework of the UN Charter. Ban also said that the results of the UN investigation into the alleged chemical attack in Syria will be announced soon. Connie Lee, Arirang News.
U.S. Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel says North Korea has a large stockpile of chemical weapons and that Washington has discussed with Seoul the scenarios in which Pyongyang might use them. Standing before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee Wednesday, Hagel said the North's chemical arms threaten the security of South Korea and the 28,000 U.S. troops stationed in the South. The remarks came as the defense chief appealed to Congress to support military intervention in Syria to not only punish the Assad regime for its recent chemical attack on civilians, but to prevent other regimes and terrorist groups from acquiring the weapons. Earlier this week, South Korean Defense Minister Kim Kwan-jin told lawmakers in Seoul signs of a chemical connection between North Korea and Syria have been detected. Here on the Korean Peninsula, with signs of inter-Korean tensions easing in recent weeks, many are wondering whether the North Korean regime has turned over a new leaf. Our Hwang Jie tells us what the experts are saying.
The recent inspection of a North Korean military unit by leader Kim Jong-un was quite different from the ones we're used to seeing. The North's official Korean Central News Agency reported Wednesday that Kim recently took a careful look around the welfare facilities of frontline military units. But it's what he didn't say that's gaining attention, namely that he didn't make any provocative comments while carrying out the inspection. Tensions were running high earlier this year when Pyongyang conducted its third nuclear test, inviting additional UN sanctions against the country. Experts say Pyongyang now seems to be focusing more on the livelihoods of its people and less on provoking its neighbors.
Although this might not mean a fundamental change of the North Korean regime, the interest in the economy among the nation's high-level leaders is escalating.
North Korea has been showing signs of a more soft-line approach recently with the resurgence of inter-Korean talks on the Kaesong Industrial Complex and the reunions of families separated by the Korean War. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman also announced this week that top Chinese nuclear envoy Woo Da-wei exchanged views on resuming the six-party talks with his North Korean counterparts during a visit to Pyongyang last week. Experts say, however, that it's too early to say the recent changes will pave the road for denuclearization of the Korean peninsula.
We're seeing some positive changes in terms of exchanges between the two Koreas, but this doesn't necessarily mean there will be progress in denuclearizing the North. Differences still remain between North Korea, the United States, and other six-party nations.
Experts add that North Korea is putting forth efforts to ensure it isn't isolated any further from the international community and that it considers opening talks with the South a necessary first step forward. Hwang Ji-ae, Arirang News.
Over at the South Korean National Assembly, a much-anticipated verdict came down on Wednesday. Lawmakers approved an arrest motion of leftist lawmaker Lee Seok-ki, who is accused of plotting to overthrow the government. Our Yu-Rian has the details.
The arrest motion for lawmaker Lee Seok-ki has been passed.
The National Assembly voted to allow leftist lawmaker Lee Seok-ki to be stripped from parliamentary immunity on Wednesday afternoon. The vote was passed with an overwhelming majority. Out of the 289 lawmakers, 258 voted in favor of approving the arrest warrant, while 14 voted against. Parliamentary approval is required by law if prosecutors want to detain a lawmaker while the National Assembly is in session. The far-left lawmaker of the Unified Progressive Party is accused of conspiring to stage an armed revolt and forming an anti-state organization called the Revolutionary Organization, or RO. He allegedly discussed sabotaging the South Korean government and the U.S. military in Korea with members of the RO if war were to break out with the North. With that approval now granted, the court has set the investigation date for Lee for Thursday 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Both the ruling and opposition parties are calling for a prompt investigation.
We voted with a determination to strengthen the foothold and basic order of our country.
We hope that the investigation and trial will be based only on the truth and proof.
Ahead of the vote, Representative Lee denied the allegations and told the Assembly that he never conspired to rebel against the government.
The National Intelligence Service has used conservative media groups to carry out a witch hunt against me. If the National Assembly goes along with the government's fabrication of this conspiracy scandal, it will serve as a stain in history that can never be removed.
On top of the rebellion charges, Lee also faces a parliamentary investigation in an unrelated bribery scandal. Lee has been on the list for evaluation by the Parliamentary Ethics Committee since March for election corruption. The two parties agreed to call the Parliamentary Ethics Committee into session to review Lee's eligibility before the Chuseok holiday on September 19th. Yu-Rian, Arirang News.
President Park Geun-hye arrived in Saint Petersburg Wednesday, where she is scheduled to take part in the G20 Summit. Our presidential correspondent Oh Jin-ju has the details on President Park's diplomatic debut at an international forum.
President Park is scheduled to attend the G20 Leaders Summit on Thursday and Friday in the Russian city of St. Petersburg. This year's meeting will mainly focus on addressing the pending economic and financial issues that developed and emerging countries are divided on. Such agenda items include countering the negative effects of Washington's plan to taper its stimulus program, ensuring financial stability, reforming the global financial system, and preventing tax avoidance by multinational firms. Other major topic points will be tackling unemployment and strengthening international development assistance. President Park, at the request of Russian President Vladimir Putin, is expected to make a lead speech in the second working session on Friday, where she will emphasize the importance of international cooperation in creating more jobs amid slowing growth. During her stay, she is also scheduled to hold bilateral talks with the leaders of 4 countries: Italy, Germany, Kazakhstan, and Russia. Now, just hours ahead of her arrival here in St. Petersburg, President Park's exclusive interview with Russia's state-run Tartas news agency and Russia 24 TV was aired in the country. In the interview, President Park reiterated her firm stance on North Korea, saying she will strongly respond to Pyongyang's provocations while continuing to provide humanitarian aid regardless of the political situation, all of which are part of her trust-building process with the North.
인도적인 차원의 지원은 정치 상황과 관련 없이 이렇게 지속해 나가고 또 대화의 창은 계속 이렇게 열어 놓음으로써 북한이 국제사회의 책임 있는 일원으로 이렇게 나아가도록 하는데 그 노력해 나가신이나 또 교통, 무슨 전력 이런 거에 대한 확충, 그다음에 국제기구에 대한 어떤 가입 이런 것도 지원을 하려고 합니다.
President Park also emphasized the importance of Moscow's role in the region. She said Russia is a very important country that could closely cooperate with Korea in bringing peace to the Korean Peninsula and joint development in Northeast Asia. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News, St. Petersburg.
If you want the latest news from Korea and around the world.
Return to the negotiation.
President Park Geun-hye plans, given the current circumstances.
On your way to work or at home.
Defense Ministry. The legislature will convene a...
Tune into Daybreak on Arirang TV.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Tuesday. Korea's real per capita GDP declined for a second straight year to 2% in 2012, according to a U.S. intelligence agency report. The CIA World Factbook has ranked Seoul 117th out of 189 countries in terms of economic growth, down 60 notches from 2 years ago. Analysts in Korea say the economy has fallen into a low-growth trap in the past 2 years, and domestic demand is still weak, but the economy is expected to pick up in the latter half of the year on stronger exports. As for the country's global competitiveness, the World Economic Forum said Korea ranked 25th in its Global Competitiveness Index, dropping 6 positions from 2012. Although Korea was said to have a sound macroeconomic environment and educational system, it lost points for inefficiencies in the job market. Switzerland topped the list, followed by Singapore. Korea's foreign exchange reserves hit an all-time high in August, renewing a record set just 1 month earlier. The Bank of Korea announced Wednesday that the country's foreign exchange holdings stood at around $331 billion in August, up $1.4 billion from July, thanks to gains in investment profits and continued trade surplus. The reserves act as a buffer for Korea at a time of financial crisis when emerging countries may suffer from foreign capital flights and currency depreciation. The popularity of foreign automobiles is growing in Korea, and the sales numbers are backing it up. The Korea Automobile Importers and Distributors Association says import car purchases rose by 32% in August compared to the same month last year. And while that is a 6.5% drop from July, the Auto Association says the surge was significant, considering that August is typically an off month for car sales here in Korea. BMW remained the most popular foreign auto brand, followed by Volkswagen and Mercedes-Benz. August was a good month for the domestic auto industry as well. Sales by Korea's 5 automakers were up nearly 30% in August, year-on-year. Tens of thousands of college graduates here in Korea will compete next month for the nation's most sought-after jobs at public financial firms. The Bank of Korea, the Financial Supervisory Service, and other public and private companies have all set their exam dates for October 19th as they seek to hire the best contenders. Korea's public financial companies, and especially the nation's central bank, are often listed as dream employers because they offer lifelong employment and generous salaries. Some welcome news on the medical front. Researchers here in Korea have found a way to develop an exact course of tailor-made treatment for patients with brain cancer. As Son Jung-in explains.
A patient surnamed Pyun was diagnosed with stage 3 gastric cancer 2 months ago. But one of the most difficult things for him to deal with was the fact that he didn't know what to expect. Doctors said the surgery went well, but Pyun is still anxious about whether his course of treatment will work or if the cancer will come back.
Patients can only rely on doctors. After surgery, the only thing we can do is follow their instructions. I mean, we don't know the exact treatment.
Until now, a patient's course of treatment was determined based on their genes. However, a patient could also waste money and time if they were not correctly diagnosed. But local researchers from 3 university hospitals have developed a new form of treatment for brain cancer, which is likely to eliminate some of the uncertainties for patients in the future. Researchers analyzed the movement of patients' intracellular proteins and used the information to set a course of treatment for each individual.
What patients most want to know is how long they can survive, what kind of treatment is best for them. That was our main concern, and we finally produced results with a high rate of accuracy.
The discovery was featured in the U.S. scientific journal Genome Research. Thus far, the treatment method has only been developed for brain tumors, but the researchers expect to develop other techniques for other kinds of cancer soon. Son Jung-in, Arirang News.
Arirang TV has signed a memorandum of understanding with Azerbaijan's Khazar TV with hopes to foster a mutual exchange of programs to bring the latest from Korea to Azerbaijan and a flavor of the Caspian nation to Korea. The CEOs from the 2 stations met in Baku on Wednesday and agreed to 5 years of exchange of diverse contents in various forms. Khazar TV is one of the most watched channels in Azerbaijan. Meanwhile, Arirang TV CEO Son Ji-hye also met with the country's culture minister on Wednesday to discuss ways to widen two-way cultural exchange between Korea and Azerbaijan through tourism and media cooperation.
And a good Thursday morning to you all. Now, we're a day away from the big match between the Korean national football team and Haiti. Of course, with the European players joining for the first time since manager Hong Myung-woo took over the team, it's a lot to look forward to. Only it seems like Haiti isn't sending out their aces. With the match kicking off in Incheon on Friday night, most of the players on Haiti won't be their regular starters. While most of them play overseas in Europe, many of them play in second-tier leagues, minus their goalkeeper Johnny Placide, who plays in League 1. While it won't be as competitive as many thought, it'll be a great chance for Korea to work on their new offense. And moving on to baseball, where it seems like the future of Korean baseball looks bright as ever, with the World Junior Championships taking place in Taiwan. With Korea taking on Italy on Wednesday, the young Korean sluggers go insane with their bats, pulling away with 15 hits in the game, scoring 17 runs to win 17-4 after mercy rules. Korea would finish the first round 3-2 and has advanced to the next round. And it looks like the first game in the second round will be a big one as they're set to face off against their rivals, Japan. And we go for the young guns to the pros as we take a look at some Wednesday night's KBO action. First off, the Kia Tigers sweeping the Samsung Lions 7-5, with the Doosan Bears sweeping the Hanwha Eagles as well. Same score, 7-5. So with that said, let's take a look at the LG Twins trying to capitalize on the Samsung loss against the SK Wyverns. Of course, we go over to the fourth inning of the game. Here's Kim Sang-hyun, an RBI double to left center field. Scores Kim Kang-min for the first run of the game. Stays that way until the sixth when LG ties it up thanks to Chung Sung-hoon's RBI double to left field line. And we have a brand new ball game. 1-1 game rest of the way, but in the bottom of the ninth, Chung Sung-hoon starts things off with a single to right before Park Yong-taek at bat comes back with a single to right as well, and we have men on first and second with no one out. And here we go. Here's Lee Byung-gyu at bat, a single to center field. That is the winning run as the LG Twins win this one, 2-1. Your final score. And next up, the Lotte Giants taking on the Nexon Heroes. Second inning, Lee Seok-ki, an RBI single, scores Kim Min-sung here as Nexon takes an early 1-0 lead. Going to shift over to the fifth inning of the game. Here's Lee Tae-gun, this time an RBI single to left field makes it 2-0 Nexon. Before last year's MVP Park Byung-ho makes it 3-0 with an RBI single to right field. But here come the Lotte Giants in the seventh. Chang Sung-ho, an RBI double to left, cuts the deficit in this game before Chun Ju-nu makes it 3-2 with an RBI ground out to third base. Now a close game, but Nexon closes things out in the eighth inning of the game. Here's Oh Yoon, clutch hit here. RBI single to center makes it 4-2 Nexon. Before Seok-gun Chang at bat closes the curtains with an RBI single to left field as the Nexon Heroes hang on to avoid the sweep, 5-2. And over to Japan, where big boy Lee Dae-ho continues to swing for the fences as he hit his 22nd home run of the season last night against the Chiba Lotte Marines, a 2-run shot in the sixth inning. Of course, Lee Dae-ho will be a free agent after this season, with the 31-year-old slugger rumored to sign a major contract next season. Now, a lot of baseball news this morning as we now shift over to the majors, where 37-year-old Im Chang-yong has been called up to the majors recently, joining the Chicago Cubs bullpen. Now, in the 11 games and 11 1/3 inning in AAA Iowa Cubs, he gave up just 1 run and an ERA of just 0.79. Now, he becomes just the 14th Korean to play in the major leagues. All right, so with that said, finishing things off with the bid for the 2020 Summer Games. 3 cities fighting for the right to host the 2020 Summer Games, and it'll be all decided this weekend. The IOC meeting taking place in Buenos Aires this weekend, the committee will decide which of the 3 finalists will host the 2020 Summer Games. The race will be between Istanbul, Tokyo, and Madrid, with many believing that the current radiation situation in Fukushima might make it tough for Tokyo to earn the rights. And with that said, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning. Well, didn't we have a stunning clear blue skies yesterday? Well, when the visibility is about 20 kilometers, it's considered to be fairly clear, but yesterday was up to 25 kilometers. Now, today should be also mostly sunny day for southern provinces, but our forecast calls for partly to mostly cloudy skies with a tad cooler daytime highs for Seoul and the surrounding areas. Well, right now we are looking at low clouds passing by across the regions, but more clouds will be rolling into the central regions to block out the sunshine, and with the absence of sunshine, our daytime highs will be about a couple of degrees cooler than yesterday. Now, towards the mid-afternoon, it's gonna be breezier, so make sure to have a light jacket with you. The 17th Typhoon Tourage died off yesterday in southern shore of Kagoshima in Japan, so unlike we forecasted, the nation will not be affected by Tourage, and what's even better, the rain shower expected on Friday yesterday. Now the chance is down to 0%. So hopefully this is a good news for baseball fans out there and those of you who plan to travel on Friday for the weekend getaway. With that, it's time to take a look at today's numbers. Now the capital started off at 17 in daytime highs will rise to 25 degrees Celsius, that's 77 degrees in Fahrenheit, and afternoon highs in Daegu and Gwangju and Busan will all hike up to 27. Now let's see how other regions are looking. Jeju and Daejeon will get up to mid-20s and Dokdo and Mount Kumgang will be cooler in the low 20s. Now that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world.
And those are the stories we're following at this hour. Thank you for watching.